Hello, everyone. How's it going? Oh my god, my gain is up so high. I am so sorry. Oh, there we go. Okay, hopefully that should be better. How is everyone? How are we doing? Welcome in. Lukich is already suggesting that we have a poll, so I guess we could do that. Asking, how do we eat an Oreo? The cookie is O, the icing is re. Oh my god, there's options to remove and discard the icing, to just eat the icing, to dunk in milk, to go in raw. Oh my god, or just bite into it like a normal cookie. Yeah, I mean, obviously you dunk it in milk when you can. I feel like the whole Milk's favorite cookie thing was a really fucking successful, oh my god, what do you call it? A really solid, successful marketing scheme, because I do genuinely crave milk whenever I so much as look at an Oreo, which sucks, because it means I buy Oreos and cookies in synchronicity, and then I never end up eating the Oreos or drinking the milk, and then it just goes bad. Or sorry, Oreos and milk. Anyway, hello everyone. How are you? How is everyone? We have Lukich, who's back on a 70th stream in a row. Welcome back. And Notzer, who said hello. Phoenix was here first. Archer said hello. Notzer says, I'm so confused. I thought there was no stream tonight. So there will be no stream later on. I think tomorrow. Was it tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow there's not going to be a stream because my day job needs me. And that's, you know, it sucks, but it is what it is. Oh, sorry. There we go. My day job needs me. It sucks. But if, you know, worst case scenario, I might be able to do an upcoming stream on a random Sunday with the girlies. We're still deciding. Mark Potter says hi in the live chat. Hello. And then let's see. Bob McSizzle, welcome back. Hello. Welcome back for your 4th month of being a tier 1 subscriber. Welcome to the Board of Ethics. I swear the good pens are in the mail. I've ordered them. They're coming. They should arrive soon. Either way, Bob McSnizzle, thank you so much for being here. How are you? And how is everyone else? I saw a couple people talk about random little fun facts that they had, psychology or not. Someone had one to do with Bend, saying, oh yeah, it was the Wombat King who said Bend, Oregon gets its name from the Deschutes River. There's a bend in the river that used to be used as a crossing point way back in the day. It's not a psychology fact. I still like it. I appreciate that. Tyler Doritos 4, welcome in. And Agent said, I'm coming from the notification. My most wild psychology fact is that after getting a degree in it, I'm no closer to better understanding people. Yeah, like psychology is one thing. There's also like sociology, which I guess is like a totally different thing, which has more to do with society in general. I don't know 100% know. Muriak is here saying, hey everyone, just finished a day of scening for frogs and tadpoles. Ooh, nice. Yeah, back when I was a tadpole, or I guess like a frog scientist, but most of the research we did was on tadpoles because we had to catch them as eggs. Because if they were in egg form, they, at least based on the research, wouldn't have any diseases. Almost all of the diseases that frogs catch happens after they're hatched. And so we would have to get them as eggs in order to ensure that they were a good control group and that they were free of free of parasites and things like that. But Mana Stone, welcome back. Thank you so much for resubbing with Prime, having been subbed for 2 months. It's good to see you. Good to see you. I'll add you to the Board of Ethics as well. The Mana Stone, lovely to have you. Also, Prime says I have a crazy psychology fact. If you think you can handle a mindfuck, please go for it. Also, Matt says Stanford prison experiment, horrible experiment. Yeah. Oversighted, absolutely. Terrible methodology. Yeah. There are so many, so people cite like all these shitty experiments. You guys have to remember that the ethics, like all of ethics essentially came out of the fact that we fucked up somewhere along the line. This is the same with FDA regulations and things like that, is the reason we're so strict about things nowadays and we have so many ethics to follow and why we think it's so barbaric how we used to do things is because we didn't used to do those things, you know? We didn't have ethics so much as being a thing, and definitely not as a mandatory part of the learning process, you know? DBCU said there was a time that the CIA tried to teach a dolphin to talk. What? The CIA tried to teach a dolphin to talk? Matt Stormcrow says psychology experiment regulations are written in blood. They are indeed. There are some cooler, newer ones that came out that are in the same era, but that are just interesting that I do want to talk about at a certain point. I think there's one that you guys will really love that has to do with lines. And I'll get to that in a bit because it's really funny to watch the clips of people panicking about the length of a line. But yeah, HT says spoiler alert involved hand jobs. Jesus, as like a reward system? I guess dolphins are smart enough that they probably like want something that's not just... It had hand jobs and LSD. What the fuck? What the fuck kind of military benefits are they giving out nowadays? Johnny Vivian says OSHA is written in Bloody Death. It is, yeah. Andronymous says, wasn't there a psychologist that tried teaching dolphins to talk, fell in love with one, and wanted to marry it? Hold on. Teaching dolphins to talk. You said this was a CIA thing? Oh no. Oh god, hold on. Aha, there we go. The Dolphin Who Loved Me, the NASA-funded project that went wrong in the 1960s. Oh my god. Margaret Lovett was part of a NASA-funded project to communicate with dolphins. Soon she was living with quote-unquote Peter 24 hours a day in a converted house. Oh. Okay. I feel like I'm gonna hate where this is going. Oh no. Okay, so this is like her background talking about how she really liked dolphins growing up. Lovat reasoned that if she could live with a dolphin around the clock, nurturing its interest in making human-like sounds, like a mother teaching a child to speak, they'd have more success. She said, maybe it's because I was living so close to the lab. Why let water get in the way? So she wanted to live there, plaster everything, fill it with water. She said, I chose to work with Peter because he had not had any human-like sound training and the other two had. So she would try and live in isolation with him 6 days a week, sleeping on a makeshift bed on the elevator platform in the middle of the room, and doing her paperwork on a desk suspended from the ceiling and hanging over the water. On the 7th day, Peter would return to the sea pool downstairs to spend time with the two female dolphins at the lab, Pamela and Sissy. Okay, well, she clearly had favorites. Good God. Also, Jayok said the video is the RTAA, the dolphin experiment, to get a good overview of it. Oh God, I think I know exactly what you're talking about now that I think about it. Also, Improv GM says dolphins are surprisingly boring to talk to. They mostly try and get you into an MLM. Johnny Vimus says, wasn't this what The Shape of Water was based off of? I've never seen The Shape of Water. Was it actually good? I thought it was about someone giving a head to the dude from the Black Lagoon or whatever, right? Vegetabilis, welcome in. Let's see. Prime says your brain can hallucinate entire realities, and it does so every day. Our brains predict what's out there, and our senses confirm or deny it. We don't passively see reality, we're creating it. When you see, hear, or feel something, you're experiencing what your brain is guessing at what's happening. And when it guesses wrong, that's when we hallucinate, see delusions, and experience the Mandela effect. Basically, reality is all in our head, a shared hallucination we all agree is real. That is so... What a wild theory to toss out there, especially because you can't prove or disprove it. But that does bring us to the Mandela effect, which I will say is a pretty solid like tangent point. Because wasn't there? I know the only one that I remember as a kid was the Berenstain Bears, right? Let's see, from Good Housekeeping, of all things. Katris says, hey, I was just at the TikTok live. Oh, hi. Oh gosh, yeah, I should move that over. I was just in the TikTok live. I live in Redmond. Nice. The reason it's called Bend is because of a big ranch called Farewell Bend Ranch in the year 1870. I mean, that would also make sense because we have Farewell Bend Park, right? Also, Agent says, check out Conrad Lorenz with the ducks. There's a nice picture of him being followed by baby ducks. Who is Conrad Lorenz? Unless I missed it. Also, let's see. Jurassic Toaster said there's a study showing that laughter and being amused can be as effective as some medications for treating pain. I do also remember that a Mythbusters episode forever ago did this thing that they like basically had people shove their hand into freezing cold water, and after a while, if you shove your hand into like a bowl of ice water, it will start to hurt. Like your hand physically feels pain from the coldness of it, right? And then they did this thing where they were like, hey, you know, if you swear a fuck ton while your hand is immersed in this water, will it lower your perceived pain tolerance? Or like raise your pain tolerance, lower your perceived pain? And the answer was yes. Apparently like swearing helps you feel or manage pain, I suppose. Either way, the Budman, welcome in. Having resubscribed with Prime, welcome back for your second month, Budman. It's good to see you. How are you? The Budman will add you to the board of ethics. Lovely to have you. Matt says the brain's perception is on a 100 millisecond delay, so you're reacting to a world slightly lagging. It also means that certain events are so fast, they kill you before you could possibly perceive them. Oh, that'd be the goal though, right? Is making sure that your death is just so quick that you don't care. Christoph said, I remember that episode. And Arrow has said, I knew yelling fuck at work was a reasonable reaction. Miriak also says, women have a higher pain tolerance than men. That's true. So, hold on. Pain, Google Scholar. We're going right to the source here, guys. Like I said, I used to be in STEM in academia. Let me see. Pain tolerance, gender, we'll say. Culture and gender effects and pain beliefs. Oh, shit. It's locked behind a fucking paywall. Here we go. I should sign into my old, college account, I swear. Gender role expectations of pain was suggested to predict sex differences in pain perception. Oh, interesting. So it's like a gender role thing as well, not just your actual sex. Both males and females held stereotypical macho attitude towards themselves with regards to pain sensitivity and willingness to report pain. However, only females held stereotypical macho attitude towards themselves with regard to pain endurance. Interesting. It also appears that gender role expectations of pain is affected by culture. Can you imagine having a culture that's like, hey, you think you feel pain? No, you don't. Don't worry about it. And it works. Oh, goodness. Johnny Infamous says, you ever wonder how swear words became swear words to begin with? Oh, kind of. I know that there's this one TikToker, and I forget his name exactly, but he's publishing a whole book on the concept of how culture shifts impact like our language, and especially with regards to things like, you know, social media. But oh, Matt says the delay in your brain's understanding of things and the fact that you can die with enough lag to not realize you're dead yet is one of the reasons why the Titanic submarine implosion was probably not felt by anyone in it. Death implosions happen that fast. I didn't even know this Titanic. Oh, that submarine. I thought like the Ocean Gate one. I was like, I didn't even know the Titanic imploded. That's crazy. Anyway, let's see. What else were we talking about? You're My Dank says Nick Cage did a Netflix show about the origins of swear words. Nick Cage did that? Seriously? Of all people? Also, Katara says it's a psych thing, right? Or psyche thing. So like in essence, men in America are supposed to not cry and be the strong one. I guess so. Like this, I guess we could go back into this. Mind you, this is a study from 2009 and it's not very long. There's probably more info out there somewhere. Despite lack of sex differences in pain threshold, pain tolerance did show a significant sex effect. There's sex-related dissociation between pain tests, and females were found to have greater pain reports than males only in high levels of stimulation, but not around pain threshold. So I'm guessing there's two different like variables there that I'm not smart enough to understand. HG says, may I die peacefully in my sleep like my grandpa, not screaming like his passengers. Christoph says Titanic imploded. What an iceberg. Jesus Christ. Matt Stormcrow said, fun fact, all known cultures have some form of profanity or foul language. Dude, can you imagine if it's all known cultures and all known like forms of language, then any animal that's getting close to the concept of having a language is also getting really close to having like their own slurs. How insane would that be? Because don't cows have like regional moo accents and things, right? I don't know. Things get insane when you get into psychology. Like we were talking about the Mandela effect, right? And we have this whole list of them here. Sound off if you recognize any of these, by the way. I don't think they'll affect me as much because I don't know a whole lot about pop culture. But essentially, if you don't know what the Mandela effect is, right? It's shared false memories, sort of, where people largely seem to remember, like as a culture, culturally, remember something that just factually isn't true. So like the number one example being Luke, I am your father, which isn't actually the line that Darth Vader says in Star Wars, you know, allegedly. I never fucking saw Star Wars, so. Christoph says the day a squirrel calls me a slur, I'm fighting nature. I'm gonna go dump so much oil in the ocean the minute a squirrel calls me a slur. And let's see, Prime Z says, it's proven. We've literally created the terms we use to describe things. Throwing a ball, for example, our brain only knows what it is because we've experienced it based off of what we described. So everything we do is unknown to our brain at first thought, which is why we have to think about it. It's all a hallucination. Ugh. Okay, where were we? Yeah, new examples of the Mandela effect from the spelling of Berenstain Bears. So I thought it was Berenstein Bears fucking ages ago. The entire existence of things. I know the Fruit of the Loom logo is one as well. Oh my gosh, Red Storm, hey, thank you so much for subscribing. Welcome back for your 15th month of being a sub as well. Holy shit. Also, Coda says the Luke one, just phonetically and cooler sounding line. I know, yeah. I mean, that could also be because we have listened to it and heard it that way so much, right? Because we have this thing where humankind is like predisposed to liking things that we've seen over and over again. So that's why if you look at yourself in a mirror, you're like, oh, okay, like this isn't bad. And then you go out and you see a picture of yourself from the same night and you're like, oh, why does this picture not look like me? Or this doesn't feel as nice. And, you know, something like that. And it's mostly because you are used to seeing yourself in a mirror, so you're used to seeing yourself reversed. And so if you go out and you see someone else look at you the correct way, flipped, you know, as they would normally see you in real life, you're not as used to it, so you don't like it as much, which is a crazy thought, right? Let's see. DBC said birds are already able to curse. Every sound they make is foul language. Ah, goodness. And also Jackal says I despise Sigmund Freud because of the little Hans study. Do you know about that study? I don't think so. And also Arrowhead said the Fruit of the Loom logo was a Mandela effect thing. I'm pretty sure, yeah. So if you look up the Fruit of the Loom logo Mandela effect, there's like a thing where one of these is wrong. You either do or do not have this little cornucopia. And I swear to God, I remember the cornucopia was there. And like, apparently it just never was. I remember it curving in this exact same direction too and having these exact same tones. So I don't fucking know. But yeah. Akoto says there is a cornucopia. Apparently not. Let's see. The great Fruit of the Loom logo mystery is solved. The Fruit of the Loom logo has never had a cornucopia in it. It's just your brain tricking you. Oh, interesting. Earlier in the week, Snopes, the fact-checking website, published a deep dive investigation into whether the logo ever featured a cornucopia. And they found that despite questionable photographic evidence, the logo has never actually had a cornucopia on it. Interesting. Either way. Oh, yeah. Okay. People tend to be confident about misremembering logos, but research doesn't conclude exactly why. The testing of Fruit of the Loom logo seemed to rule out the schema theory, which states that people will fill in missing information based on their associations, so you feel like there should be a cornucopia there, therefore you come up with one. But, I don't know. Let's see, Wombat King, hey, welcome back! Thank you so much for the sub with Prime. Also, I think I might be a frog, thank you for the follow. Welcome in, welcome back. Wombat King, let me add you in over here. Wombat _King_, King of the Wombats. Welcome in, Your Highness. Matt says if you want a mind-blowing thing, look up Donald Brown's list of human universals. It's things that no known culture doesn't have. They include shame, jokes, profanity, taboo, foods, and magic. Oh, interesting. What? Every culture has magic to some capacity? Let's see. Compiled in 1989 and published in 1991, its surface universals of behavior and overt language noted by ethnographers. So that's like people who study behavior. Abstraction in speech and thought, childhood fear of strangers, play, in-out group distinguished from out, or sorry, in groups distinguished from out groups. So this is basically like othering other people or saying like, oh, hey, this person is not one of us. Like that whole concept is universal, is fucking insane. Also, Son of Rachel. Hey, welcome in. Hello, hello. Having resubbed for 3 months at tier 1. Welcome back for your 3rd month, Son of Rachel. Let me toss you on the board. Of Rachel. What? That's a bad C. Hold on. There we go. That's a good C. Good to have you. Good to have you. Christoph said, all except dwarves for most lore. Oh, not having magic. Also, Jackal said, for Freud's fucked up experiment, a 5-year-old boy was scared of horses and had a dream that it bit him. Freud said the little boy's fear of horses was symbolic of the father, and that Hans feared the horse would castrate him as punishment for incestuous desires towards his mother. It was all based on his idea of the Oedipus complex. Yeah, fucking Freud, dude. They teach him so much, and they really, they spend like fucking 20% of an entire school year teaching you Freud, and maybe 2% telling you at the very end, oh yeah, by the way, everything that guy said is basically bullshit. Which is like so disproportionate. I don't know. But Son of Rachel says it's the Australian Pint Fund contribution. Oh, you're so sweet. Dude, when I went to Australia and they put ice in my cider or asked me if I wanted ice, what a fucking concept. Kugan said she was afraid of, oh, you should also check out the house of the wife of the Winchester gunmaker. She was afraid that the ghosts of all the people her husband's weapons harmed and thought they would come after her. Interesting. Also, Michael says if you saw Freud's mom, all this makes more sense. Dude, holy shit, they should write songs about that one. Agent said Freud was only right about religion and nothing else. And Budman says sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Let's see. Ghost Poro says, wait a minute, remember the time Jim Carrey did the Monopoly guy in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective? He pointed out the guy with the monocle. Oh shit, yeah, because the Monopoly guy never had a monocle, right? And that's like another, it might be on here, hold on. Mickey Mouse having suspenders, Captain versus Captain Crunch, Snoopy having a tail, Tony at the Tiger's Nose, Sinbad who never played a genie. Oh. The Oops, I Did It Again headset. where it's Jif peanut butter, not Jiffy. Looney Tunes versus Looney Tunes. This is the one I fucking hate, the Berenstain Bears versus the Berenstain Bears. I thought it was Berenstain this entire time. Why would you call it the Berenstain Bears? Where's the stain? Curious George's tail was never there? So he's a gorilla. He's a chimpanzee. I guess that makes sense. He's not really like a monkey. Sex and to the City, Febreze, Oscar Mayer. Where? Here we go. The Monopoly Man and his monocle. Or more like the fact that he doesn't have one. This, as some suggest, might be a simple confusion between him and the Planters Peanut Company's mascot, Mr. Peanut. Oh my god, Pikachu's tail is on here? Though many of us remember black detailing on the Pokemon character's tail, in reality, it's just yellow. I mean, it has a brown base, though. That counts. Also found encoded says the author's name was Berenstain. Oh. That tracks. Cheez-It versus Cheez-Its. Double Stuff Oreo. To be fair, Double Stuff Oreos were always this. I never had this one. Mona Lisa's smile. People claiming that she used to have a more obvious smile. And also talking about the fact that C-3PO has a silver leg. The robot isn't all gold. He has one silver piece on his right leg. Oh. Wild. Arrowhead says it's a black tip that gets misremembered. And Mirek says, oh yeah, the Winchester house. If I get the job I applied to, I'm probably gonna end up living near it. Oh, what a concept. Let me see. Winchester house. Haunting. We'll look up. The Winchester Mystery House. Is this the same one? What state are we looking at? I don't know. The name Winchester is really common, and this looks like it's way more of a way more of a tourist attraction. Let's see. 100 years and counting. Winchester Mystery House is a mansion in San Jose, California that was the personal residence of Sarah Winchester, the widow of firearms magnate William Winchester. Okay, Sarah Winchester. She developed rheumatoid arthritis. House renovation. Earthquake. As a tourist attraction. Okay. After her death in 1922, the house became a tourist attraction. Literally 9 months later? Are you fucking kidding? The body's not even cold by then. Coogan says she started making hallways that led to nowhere to confuse the ghosts. Interesting. There was an annunciator in there for calling servants. The stairway has 44 steps, but rises only 10 feet because of her height. Let's see. It doesn't seem to be there. In September, as of 2022, the house is owned and operated by Winchester Mystery House LLC, which is a private company that represents the descendants of the Browns. Captive of the Labyrinth author Mary Jo Ignofo wrote that tour guides are required to follow a script, emphasizing fabrications and inaccuracies. Oh, interesting. Wild. So it looks like the tour itself is pretty much based off of things that people are trying to, like, I guess, emphasize her insanity. But friends, neighbors, and workers for Winchester were distressed when they read about superstitious claims being made about the house in Winchester and were upset the Browns were making money from falsehoods. They described Winchester as clear-headed and savvy with finances and business than most men. There were many room additions and deletions made to the home after Winchester's death. Isn't it wild how they call it like a room deletion, as if you can just do it in The Sims? Matt says, I went there as a kid, it freaked me out and I cried. Really? Labyrinthine construction. Okay, here we are. The belief that Winchester built her house in its strange maze-like manner to confuse and keep spirits from harming her, and that her sanity was questionable, started in the mid-1890s, and has grown since her death. The doors and windows that open to nothing, unusually shallow stairs, stairs that end in ceilings, interior barred windows and trapdoors on the floor are used to confirm Winchester's spirituality and poor state of mind. However, thanks to paranormal investigators, these house oddities have simple explanations. The barred windows were previously exterior windows that blocked off as the house additions grew. The doors and windows that opened to nothing resulted from the 1906 earthquake and the severe damage that happened to the house. The small steps were built because of Winchester's declining health. The trapdoors were constructed in a greenhouse room where excess water could run and be piped to the outdoor garden. And after the damage from the earthquake, the Winchester did not build the house. Oh, interesting. According to Joe Nickel, claims that local residents heard ghostly music coming from the house are explained by the fact that Winchester just likes to play the organ when she can't sleep. Oh. Also, HG said, Diana, did you hear that the astronomer CEO got fired this past week? Are you kidding? Yeah, obviously got fired. Dude, fucking got fired, stepped down, is probably losing everything. Ugh, what a dumbass you have to be. Anyway, Daydreamer, here's your hydrate. By the way, the hydrate today is back to mango flavor. We're kind of sticking with the sunny flavors, you know? I don't know. I quite like it. HC says she's a demon trap in the basement. Ugh. Fucking wild. Also, Christoph says playing the organ when you can't sleep. There's an innuendo there. Oh, gosh. Actually, that would be a fucking... be a hilarious innuendo. But yeah. We were talking about the Monopoly guy being one of them, 100%. Are there any others that you guys remember that I might not be remembering? Because I'm not very good at Mandela effect things, mostly because I just don't know things. TBC said all that for a Coldplay concert. I didn't even know Coldplay was still doing concerts, dude. Ugh. Also, Arrowhead says I can't look at Bubbly and not think of the Michael Bublé commercials. Michael Bublé commercials. Did he do that for Bubbly? Okay, what are we on about? What was our next thing? Oh yeah, so we were talking about like actual experimentation and proper experiments being done on things. Jackal says I need to go in 5 minutes, have a good stream, I may be back. Have a great night if you don't come back. If you do, well, glad you can come back for $5.99, we'll put it that way. No. Oh, also Coogan says I think there's a Mandela effect to do with the Pringles Man, but I'm not sure on that one. I think that's the same as the... I want to say that's the same as the Monopoly Man one. Mr. Rogers' theme song? Okay, well these are, it looks like the further down we go in the list, the more like one word alterations there are, like the difference between It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood versus It's a Beautiful Day in this neighborhood. Beam me up, Scotty, as opposed to Scotty beam us up. Talking about Tom Cruise's sunglasses. Yeah, these are some pretty old ones. Smokey the Bear? It's not Smokey the Bear, it's just Smokey Bear? This dude's an Oregonian icon. What do you mean? Also, Wombat King says Coldplay is second in ticket sales across the music world behind Taylor Swift. Can you imagine that being the reason that Coldplay is like getting back into resurgence? Ugh, goodness. Fountain Coda says there's a Mandela effect about there being a Mandela effect about the Pringles Man, but it's really a Mandela effect about the Monopoly Man. That's what I figured, because the Pringles Man also doesn't have a monocle, right? Or does he? Am I insane? Oh god. We've reached the am I insane portion of the stream, everyone. There were other studies. Let me see if I can find it. Psychological study about line length. This one's really cool. Yeah, the Ashken-Forby experiments. Oh, okay, you guys are gonna love this. So, if you're any kind of nerd, you're gonna love it. A long time ago, there was an experiment that was done to test essentially conformity, right? How much people are going to basically just go along with whatever the fuck other people say. Also known as the Asch paradigm, conducted by Solomon Asch, trying to see if people just yield to a majority group, even if the majority group just has an objectively wrong opinion, right? Kashkal said the Mandela effect is actually a conspiracy to see how far they can gaslight us. This whole time. Good God. Let's see. And then Rah Rah, hey, Diana with the deep cuts. It's hello, welcome in. Guys, everyone say hi to Rah Rah, by the way. Yeah, we're talking about a bunch of like psychological nonsense. Your Bud Dank says Smokey's name could be Smokey Bear, but Smokey the Bear is like Dan the Man. It's fine, that's not a Mandela effect. Thank God, because my childhood would be ruined. Do you guys remember that one Smokey the Bear commercial where some kid was like, and this haunted me as a child, right? They had all those, hey, if you light a fire in the woods, put it out sort of things. And one of the commercials was people essentially doing what looked like really violent acts. Like someone was taking a shovel and just like slamming it against the ground. It was like a businessman just slamming it against the ground in a dark forest. And the camera angles were all like weird and jittery. And then someone else like dropped a bucket full of liquid onto something from a tree up high. And it was also like really dark and really scary looking. And then it would cut back and the dude was actually just like beating out a fire with a sword and then, or sorry, a shovel. And then the kid was like sitting in a tree, but just pouring water on a fire. It was a weird fucking experiment, dude. It scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. HG says this reminds me of a schizophrenia simulation video I saw on AP Psych. That still scares the shit out of me. I never saw that in AP Psych. What? Really? Oh, that would be fucking wild. What would that... Is it like... Oh, I don't even want to think about it. They've done like videos like that in VR quite a bit, where you can do like a thalassophobia or like swimming or like deep dive VR thing, especially if you're afraid of water. Cash Cow said, seriously, Fruit of the Loom straight up lied to us about their logo. I was there during the old Magics, I remember it. And also Bob McSizzle says, are you sure this isn't a fever dream you had? Yeah, I'm Mandela affecting myself about Smokey the fucking Bear. No, this is a thing. Hold on. It would be the 2000s Smokey the Bear commercial shovel. I'm sure this will get it. Smokey the Bear wildfire prevention. Okay, hold on. Smokey, I should probably not Google Smokey the Bear, because that's apparently not it. Something that says Smokey is within. Practice wildfire safety. No, because Smokey the Bear holds a shovel. Shovel. Water bucket. There's got to be a way to find this. Okay, he advocates the use of a shovel and something else. No, this isn't it. Because it doesn't have a businessman beating a fucking fire to death with a shovel. I'm actually gonna find this at some point. And I swear to God, I'm gonna link it in the Discord when I find it. This is 100% a thing. Also, H2 said, here's that schizophrenic video. I can put it in the Discord too if you like. Yeah, go ahead and toss it in the Discord. Robert says, I remember the commercial. Thank you, Robert. Notster says, what did I come back to? I'm trying to find this one Smokey the Bear commercial that was an absolute mindfuck when I was a kid. But still, H says gaslighting someone and then telling them it's a Mandela effect when they question you seems OP. Notster also wants me to hydrate. I also do want to say hi to Red MNM. Oh, the Red M&M 5871. Good to see you. Welcome in. Matt Sorkro says nothing beats the Snake Guy anti-drug commercial. The what? Commercial. It's not coming up easily on the Evil Snake anti-drug PSA from 1992. Why is it on the Villains wiki? Oh. Okay, bro turned into a Power Rangers villain. I'm gonna do it without sound. Oh, there's no captions? Shit. Oh man, this is the 90s. I don't want to get like copyright struck, but it said, oh my God, people are saying this scared the shit out of them when they was a kid. Okay, fine, we'll listen to it. Hold on. Let me get the chill step off. Let me get the actual sound up and going for all y'all. Let's see. Robert says, since that era of media created by the older hippies, everything was wild. Okay.
Hey, little dude, send your mama and daddy out of the room. I gotta get you up on this. You know who I am. Snake, dealing in weed, coke, crack, your choice. Take one hit and you'll do anything to cop more. Steal from your mama, lie, cheat on your homeboys. But hey, that's the price you pay when you deal with dudes like me. Now, some folks will tell you that I'm dealing in poison. But hey, do I look like the kind of guy that would do that to a kid like you? Yes!
Wild. That would scare the shit out of me as a kid too. Oh my God. Also, Nimbus says just looked up creepy Smokey Bear commercials. Oh no. Mad TV commercials, ad parodies. I don't think I want to get into that. Good God. Cash said, I think you're good, especially if you pause as well. There was no music, so I think we're okay. I love how he straight up just like listed every drug known to man as well. I just want to point out, anytime anyone's ever offered me drugs, it's always been like, hey, just like, we're gonna do something, do you want some? And I'm like, oh no, and they're like, all right, cool. And then nothing else happens. Like that's how it is. Let's see, the Budman says it looks like a He-Man villain. And let's see, Alpegio says that's quite the thing to hop into stream and see. Welcome in. Oh yeah, let me get the music back up. Here we are. Solid. DBC said that's just a Power Rangers villain. The darkness was really fucking intense for that. Okay, let's see. Crumpleton says, look up Urbach-Wiethe disease. The amygdala cells calcify and the person experiences no fear. There's a famous anonymous woman named SM who has to be kept confidential so people don't take advantage of her. So wait, hold on. You just stop feeling fear? Urbach-White disease. A very rare recessive genetic disorder with approximately 400 reported cases since its discovery back in 1929. It's an autosomal recessive condition, so it's very easy to not get it, essentially. So you have to have like 2 carriers who are really fucking unlucky to get a kid who has it. It's the most simple form of like gene passing ons. Okay, neurological symptoms, dermatological changes. Wait, it changes your skin too? Symptoms begin in infancy and are a result of thickening skin and mucous membranes. The first symptom is often a weak cry or hoarse voice due to thickening of the vocal cords. Lesions and scars also appear on the skin, usually the face and distal part of the limbs. Distal is like furthest away from the center of the body. So like the edges of your fingers and things like that, which is the result of poor wound healing and scarring that increases as the patient ages. So you begin to look like you're made of wax or has a waxy appearance. Interesting. You get respiratory tract infections. You can have hair loss, keratitis. Ooh. Okay. 50 to 75% of diagnosed cases also show bilateral symmetrical calcifications on the medial temporal lobes, affecting the amygdala and periamygdaloid gyri, I think. Okay, so it affects memory. People can suffer impairment in episodic memory for strongly emotional stimuli, particularly those associated with fear. So it doesn't seem like you don't get afraid. It seems like you just like don't remember being afraid. Hey, Cole, welcome in. Guys, we're talking about scary psychology and scary shit. Wait, hold on. Cole said Shadowlord 420 hates me? What did you do to my boy? What happened? Oh, also, hello. We're talking about scary psychological shit and like interesting psychology facts and experiments and things like that over time. We started talking about like Mandela effects and things like that. Crumpleton says there's an episode of Invisibilia that interviews SM. It's super fascinating. Oh, I wonder if she's mentioned here. A woman with Urbach-White disease, SM, was a woman unable to feel fear. She has been extensively studied, which helped determine the function of the amygdala. Interesting. That's nice that she like, yeah, she has a type of brain disease. She's also known as SM-046. Fascinating. I mean, that is kind of nice that she's like, you know, helping out with scientific research. She revealed no fear in response to exposure and handling of snakes and spiders, including tarantulas, a walk through a haunted attraction, the sanatorium specifically, or fear-inducing film clips from the Blair Witch Project, The Shining, and Silence of the Lambs. Instead, she was only interested, curious, and excited, although she expressed emotions appropriate to the film content, such as happiness and disgust, when viewing non-fear-inducing film clips. She's not immune to all fear, however. Along with other patients with bilateral amygdala damage, she was found to experience fear and panic attacks with greater intensity than normal people, essentially. In response to the stimulation of subjective experience of suffocation via carbon dioxide inhalation. Oh, if you inhale too much carbon dioxide, you can give your, you can like demo suffocation? Ugh, weird. Crumpleton says she once got mugged, but she didn't realize that her life was being threatened. Oh. Also, Cole says I can't tell you why Shadowlord hates me because you gotta complete a story. What if I accidentally make him hate me? I don't want to alienate my husband. What's the male term for wifey? Hubby? That's it. I guess I always have Dorian. Kamashita says, I can't find the studies on it now, but my favorite psychology thing is the bully's mirror, where most of the time the first 3 things a bully says to you are likely their 3 biggest problems they see in themselves at that moment. I want to believe that. I should find a study on it, because part of me is also like, that's just something that they tell you in order to, you know, tell you to get back at your bullies. Also, Notster says, have we had a food diversion yet? Not yet. And Matt says, weird psych fact, there are no known cases of a blind person developing schizophrenia. Really? Interesting. Have they had cases where someone was schizophrenic then went blind for unrelated reasons? Wild. Also, Coogan says the feeling of drowning and suffocating is not triggered by a lack of oxygen, it's the buildup of CO2. So you could just like safely have someone inhale carbon dioxide to the point that they feel like they're like is this safe? Can you just expose someone to this? Physiological effects, diagnosis. So this is like the actual problem. They're not saying how it's used. Yeah, in response to simulation of subjective experience of suffocation by a carbon dioxide inhalation. Here we go. They actually have the study here. Fear and panic in humans with bilateral amygdala damage. Here's the full study. Details of each patient's panic attack are described in supplementary panic descriptions. They have panic descriptions? Oh, interesting. Hold on. Oh, yeah. SM had sensations of shortness of breath and smothering, palpitations, derealization, feelings of unreality, and fear of losing control. She also had chills and hot flushes, feeling unsteady, trembling and shaking. Oh. And normal people had fear of dying, but it doesn't look like she had that on her list. Unless these aren't 3 different people. Yeah, each patient. No, they are 3 different people. Ugh. Acerac says, this all reminds me of the DSM, which is a huge Bible of mental disorders and stuff. Yeah, the DSM-5. Or are they on 6 yet? I don't know. Matt Stormcrow says, there are cases of deaf people with schizophrenia, so instead of hearing voices, they see mouths they can lip read or hands signing to them. That's a cool fact. Holy shit. Also, hello to Caffeinated Alien, Deuceras, Exact Approach, and then also Sculptor, welcome back for your 4th month in a row being subbed. It's good to see you. Sculptor, welcome to the Board of Ethics. Thank you for the subscription. Christoph says new DSM dropped 6th edition. I wonder if they've fucked with OCPD at all, because that's the one that I looked up immediately after I got diagnosed. Let's see. I think I might be a frog says there was an event in Lake Nyos a while back where a release of a ton of CO2 killed whole villages. It's like a story out of nightmares. Someone also mentioned, speaking of nightmares, fatal familial, oh god, insomnia, I think it is, FFI. And I think we talked about it before, but it's this thing where, oh shit, they have full-on transcript. This is like reading an SCP article. Yeah, SM was like, yeah, this is the worst panic attack I've ever had. And the clinician was like, were you surprised that you reacted the way you did? And she said, yeah, I was, because usually nothing happens to me. This is cool. TBCU said it's called the DSM 2024. The new edition. They'll put out the errata here soon. The DSM Monster Manual 2025. Nimbus Comics says, I'm not really a human psychological experiment, but the military once tried to use pigeons as a navigation system for missiles. They trained the pigeons to peck a button to receive food, replace the button with a cutout of an enemy battleship, then put them in front of a screen that would recenter the pneumatics based on how far off center the pigeons were pecking. Actually wild to me. Oh, what a concept. Okay. It looks like, let's see, where is it? Kind of curious about this one. Anticipatory physiological reactions, that's normal. It doesn't have, that's okay. I don't need the whole thing. What were we talking? Oh yeah, fatal familial insomnia. This is the subject of so much fucking like creepypasta out there. It's an extremely rare degenerative prion disease that results in trouble sleeping as its hallmark symptom. The majority of cases are familial, stemming from a mutation in a certain gene. It's also known as CD230. It's a nervous system thing. With the remainder of cases occurring sporadically, which is known as sporadic fatal insomnia. Okay, so it starts out being unable to sleep a little bit, and then it gets worse over time. Eventually, the patient succumbs to total insomnia, often leading to other symptoms such as speech problems, coordination problems, and dementia. It results in death within a few months to a few years. Can you imagine not being able to sleep for years? Holy shit. Tyler over on YouTube says, oh, we're academic in this motherfucker? Yeah, I've got 3 minors, and my god, do I plan on using them in all the wrong ways. Emotionless Records and Slumbering Monkey, welcome in. And then HE says prions are annoying in Plague Inc. Dude, I remember Plague Inc. Oh my god. Oh, that was great. Also, Cruppleton says, don't forget the Dancing Plague of 1518. What is that? Hold on, Dancing Plague of 1518. We'll get to that in a sec. I'm just keeping the tab open. Age onset could be fucking anywhere from 13 to 60 years old. Oh, but the average is 50, so at least you get to live a decent amount of life before you get there. Diagnosis. Okay. Can be supported by a sleep study, a PET scan, and genetic testing. Emotionless Records. Holy shit. Hi. Oh, thank you so much for the gifted subs. It's good to see you. Oh my goodness. HE says prions are... Oh wait, I read that already. Guys, everyone say hello and thank you to Emotionless Records for having enough emotion to give 5 subs. That's amazing. Let me adjust the board. Emotionless Records. Perfect name for this type of stream, honestly. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs, friends. It's wonderful to see you. Thank you for following and supporting the stream. Coogan says, cozy dog psychology. There's an extinct breed of dog called the Turnspit dog that was bred to be loyal enough to not eat the food it was helping to cook on the spit. Aw, that's kind of cute. So it actually like turned the spit around for the humans. That's adorable. That's actually really fucking cute. Cash Cow said if I couldn't sleep for a week, I would make myself sleep permanently. Yeah, dude, I become an unrecognizable person after like a day or two. Oh, God. So life expectancy ranges from 7 months to 6 years with an average of 18 months. Okay, so it looks like the 6 years is kind of an outlier. In 1998, 40 families were known to carry the gene globally. 8 German, 5 Italian, 4 American, 2 French, 2 Australian, 2 British, 1 Japanese, and 1 Austrian. Interesting. As of 2022, 37 cases have been diagnosed, but they've been sporadic fatal insomnia, not familial. Okay, so they have a different mutation in the same gene. They don't have a specific mutation that this article is referring to. Ooh. An article published in 2006, 2 people wrote of a 52-year-old American man who was able to exceed the average survival time by nearly 1 year with various strategies that included vitamin therapy and meditation, different stimulants and hypnotics, and even complete sensory deprivation in an attempt to induce sleep at night and increase alertness during the day. He managed to write a book and drive hundreds of miles in this time, but nevertheless, over the course of his trials, the man succumbed to the classic 4-stage progression of the illness. The 4-stage progression is hypertension, insomnia, tremors, and character changes. Oh, but that's years later. TGA and cognitive impairment, autonomic disturbance, so your latent functions essentially, and then death eventually. Fucking wild. Emotionless says dropping some subs for D&D tonight. Have a good night. You too. Enjoy D&D. Also, Matt says, oh wait, Christos has got 3 miters. I'm gonna use them since when does Diana quote the church? Jesus fucking Christ. Matt says, Operation Wandering Soul was a psychological experiment by the US military in Vietnam, which recorded and played tapes to sound like dead ghosts of soldiers to freak enemy soldiers out and get them to desert their positions. There have been some crazy things that people have done over time. I know that, wasn't it like Alexander the Great who had absurdly large armor made? And so any time that he left a campsite behind, he would sometimes make it a bit obvious and more easy to find. So if someone were scouting around and they found one of his army's campsites, they would see extremely large armor scraps left behind. And then the opposing army would then just hear about how fucking huge his warriors were, right? Here's the hydrate for you, Painting Tentacle. Thank you so much. Let's see. Sunny Boy says, I have arrived. Hello, hello. And Johnny says, whenever I can't sleep, I take a 500 milligram edible and see the devil. Oh God. Also, Roly Chloe Oli. Roly, Jesus, my brain does not want to read that. I painted 2 white direwolf minis and have 2 more. Should I do brown for those 2? Ooh. I think so. Or you should do one that's all black too. That'd be kind of interesting. Cashco said, I think it was World War II where they gave the Germans crack to keep them awake. Oh my God. And Sunny Boy says, I see a perfect repeating pattern of hexagons sometimes when I wake up, covering my entire vision. That is so interesting. Also, Sparrow, hey! Hello, hello, how are you? You excited for Gen Con? I forgot, you're coming to Gen Con, right? Or is it just Unplugged? Also, Matt says it was meth and it was baked into chocolate pieces. Jesus Christ. Let's see, Coogan says the Americans also drained the blood from people in the Philippines to pretend they were killed by the local vampire of their myths. Yeah, there was that. There was also a thing where some army somewhere basically made it so that if they were defeated in battle, or if they won a battle, they would drag all of their their dead warriors off the battlefield and leave the enemy warriors. And so that way, if the enemy came by to reclaim the corpses, they would believe that the defending army had no deaths at all, which is insane logic. Poketate says, why is there a breather team? Listens for 5 minutes. She's just like me for real. Yeah. Let's see. Roly Chloe Oli says it's like Roly Poly Oli. I'll do 1 black and 1 brown. Thanks. Yeah. Also, Spare says, I will be at Gen Con. I got tickets to see your AP. Oh, it's so much pressure. But yeah, hell yeah. I'm excited. Fuck yeah. Yeah, dude, I just double checked my Gen Con schedule. I realized I'm on way more stuff than I thought I was. And so I'm so sorry for all of the announcements that have been going out lately because I keep getting added to things last minute. I think it's stable now though. Like, I think we're set. So essentially I have, and this is in order of day, by the way. So Friday through Sunday, I believe. I think Roll for Sandwich is actually Saturday, but I have 1, 2, 3, there should be another one on here. Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 panels, 1 event outside of the convention, and 2 live games. So that's where I'll be. It's gonna be fucking a marathon of a convention, but let's see. Sarah says, no pressure at all. I'm sure you're gonna do great. I'll try. It's a game I haven't played before, so fingers crossed. But someone mentioned the Dancing Plague of 1518. What the fuck is that? It's a case of dancing mania. Oh my god. Dancing mania being a social fucking... Oh, it just comes back around here. A social phenomenon that may have biological consequences that occurred mainly in Europe. Well, God forbid a dude catches a vibe. Let them have a little bit of fucking whimsy. It's the 14th and 17th centuries. Give them a break. It affected adults and children who danced until, allegedly, they collapsed from exhaustion and injuries and sometimes died. Oh, God. It affected thousands of people across several centuries, and it wasn't an isolated event and was well documented in contemporary reports. But it was poorly understood, and remedies were based on guesswork. Often musicians accompanied dancers due to belief that music would treat the mania, but this tactic sometimes backfired by encouraging more to join in. It's speculated to have been a mass psychogenic illness in which physical symptoms have no known physical cause. Oh. Wild. So it began in this particular outbreak in July 1518 when a woman named Frau and her daughter Fraulein began to dance fervently and uncontrollably in the middle of a street in Strasbourg. Oh. As far as she could tell, she had no musical accompaniment, but she simply began to dance. I wonder if it was an actual dance or if it was just like some weird, like, jittery movements. It looks like there were as many as 15 deaths per day during the outbreak's peak, but the final number of fatalities is unknown. No one knew what caused the reaction, which means no one understood how to remedy it. By early September, the outbreak began to subside. It started in July and ended in fucking September? Oh. Controversy exists over whether people ultimately danced to death. Some sources claim that for a period the plague killed around 15 people per day, but the sources of the city of Strasbourg didn't mention the number of deaths or even if there were fatalities. There aren't any sources related to the events. Some people believe that it was caused by, ergot fungi, that commonly grew on grains, which is a psychoactive sort of thing, and is structurally related to LSD. They were high? Oh. Deuce Covington says, I ran a Dancing Plague one-shot when I first started DMing. I should revisit that. That's a great idea for a one-shot. Especially when you link it to, yeah, what Chris Asurac says, which is Otto's Irresistible Dance, 100%. J-Hook says, keep reading, it's not catching a vibe. Oh, God. Also, Johnny Infamous says, the late mustache leader in Germany was on a cocktail of meth, speed, cocaine, and a bunch of other stuff that fried his brain, and why he got way more insane towards the end of his pathetic life. Jesus fuck. Your Bud Tank says there's that weird dance from A Knight's Tale. Also, Roly Chloe Oli says, ergo, that stuff is intense. Which stuff? Ergotism. The effect of long-term ergot poisoning due to the ingestion of alkaloids produced on a fungus. Oh, it's like club nails and club heads and things like that. Ugh. Hysteria and like mass hysteria is such a concept. And I'm concerned that there's going to be some sort of effect of it, essentially, especially with like the internet nowadays. Mass psychogenic illness, also known as mass hysteria, epidemic hysteria. Oh. There's actual outbreaks that people can, like, properly state. So a lot of people at the same time will just say that they have headaches and things like that. Interesting. The new DSM doesn't define a diagnosis for this condition, but the text describing conversion disorder states that in epidemic hysteria, shared symptoms develop in a circumscribed, different thing, group of people following exposure to a common participant. Is there one? What's the most common one? Terrorism and biological warfare. Holy shit, the anthrax attacks in 2001 made it so that there were a bunch of false alarms, and some people reported physical symptoms of what they believed to be anthrax. Oh. Also something called Havana syndrome, sorry. Some staff stationed at the US Embassy in Cuba reported medical symptoms that initially were attributed to sonic attacks and later to other unknown weaponry. Fucking wild. It's a socially constructed catch-all category for an array of pre-existing health conditions, responses to environmental factors, and stress reactions that are lumped into a single label. Social media. Oh yeah, after the rise of a popular breakthrough YouTube channel in 2019 where someone exhibited Tourette's behavior, there was a sharp rise in people referred to clinics specializing in tics thought to be related to social contagion spread via the internet, as well as stress from eco-anxiety and the COVID-19 pandemic. Social media was the primary vector for transmission and that it predominantly affects adolescent girls. Ooh. Yeah, I remember a bunch of people getting called out for the fact that they didn't actually have Tourette's, but they were like pretending to, and they were having tics in like the most annoying places, but it was also only when the camera was on. I don't know. ABCD, hey, welcome back. Also, Maddie Darling, Kid Air, welcome in. ABCD says, hey, glad to catch this. It's kind of too late for me. Sleep schedule during the summer for work. But glad I get to catch the end of this one. It's good to see you. Welcome back. And yeah, good to see you. You came in for an intense one. We're talking about fucked up psychology and things like that. Agent says, I'm pretty sure the original hysteria was just a pseudoscientific concept to marginalize unruly women. It was. So the original concept of hysteria was awful because anytime that you basically wanted rights, they were like, no, you're being hysterical. So it's still kind of coming back into play as like a very insulting term, specifically when used towards women, is like if you call someone hysterical, it's largely based in sexist roots, is the belief. But ABCDE, welcome in and welcome back. Sorry that it's a little too late for you. Hopefully work is going okay this summer. HE says lobotomy for you. Indeed. Let's see. But yeah. Herd mentality, hypochondriasis. So the herd mentality sort of thing kind of goes back to the Asch experiment that I was going to talk about. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. It's essentially this experiment where, yeah, here we go. Groups of 8 male college students participated in a simple perceptual task. They were basically asked to take a look at a line and then match the line length up to a reference card. They were like, okay, is this line the same size as A, B, or C? And they'd be like, yeah, A, or B, or C, obviously. And obviously the correct answer is C. Like, objectively, that's what the line looks like. It's the same length as C. And so they would sit there, and everyone would go around the table and answer one by one by one. And we had the control person sit and be like kind of towards the end of the line. And then they had a bunch of hired actors come in and fill in the rest of the table. And then they started with one of the hired actors, and they were like, okay, you know, how long do you think the line is? What do you compare it to? And they gave the wrong answer. And then you can see in this guy's like eyes, he like looks at the person, he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then the next person goes, and he's like, yeah, it's A. And then the next person goes and also gives the wrong answer and also says it's A. And then by the time it gets to the one person who's not in on it, he just goes ahead and agrees. And he agrees with everyone else because he's like too scared to essentially disagree with everyone. So it's fucking wild. So yeah, when there was no pressure to conform to everyone else in the group, you got it right, like, you know, most of the time. But if there were people who were pressuring you to say the wrong answer, then 35.7% of people changed their answer and said the incorrect one as well. Fucking wild. Yeah, there's like videos of it as well. And the looks on people's faces gets pretty crazy. Yeah, see also the bandwagon effect, the Stanford prison experiment. Oh my god, groupthink, the Milgram experiment. That one was fucking wild. They don't talk about this one nearly as much as they talk about the Stanford experiment. But Narla says, I'm pretty sure that every role-playing game has a custom name for its for its game master and a cooler name for it than Dungeon Master. Oh yeah. Oh god, there's gotta be some better ones out there. Also, Agent says Vsauce also redid this experiment. Interesting. I wonder how it changes over time. Also, Kukin says, did you see the gorilla playing basketball thing? Yes! Oh my gosh. Playing basketball video. So, the selective attention test, we did this when I was in psychology in college, where you have to count how many different times the basketball changes hands. And we won't actually go through the whole thing. Oh, sorry, specifically wearing white. I forgot about that. And so you're supposed to keep track of how many times this happens, right? Let's see. Lucas says, "Unlurk, hi chat. Did we have a food direct? What? Yeah, sorry. We were talking about fucked up like psychological experiments and weird concepts like that. But yeah, you know to look for it because we mentioned it. But the general idea of this video is like you count how many passes there are, and because you're trying so hard to make sure that you're getting it right. Yeah, Arrowhead says all I see is a gorilla. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so since you're trying so hard to watch the basketball, you do not notice the gorilla. Mind you, you have to not know that it's coming in order for this to work. But yeah. There's a bunch of other things, like the marshmallow test is one of my favorites to cite, where it's basically like a delayed gratification test where they would take a bunch of kids and they would give them a marshmallow. And they were like, hey, if you wait for 2 minutes without eating this marshmallow, we'll give you a second marshmallow. And the kids obviously don't have great fucking ability to not eat a marshmallow when it's right the fuck in front of them. Some people even would try and eat like little bits of the marshmallow and hope that it counts. Some people would like, you know, like try and turn it inside out, eat the inside, and then put it back. And then eventually, yeah, the kids did get the marshmallow. And it was shown that the kids who actually waited and had that delayed gratification and, you know, could hold off until the second marshmallow came had better just overall, I think it was like, oh God, they were just higher IQ or something like that later on in life or some such thing. It was like, if you could deal with delayed gratification, you make better decisions in life. Essentially, so versus like short-term gratification. But yeah, Hard Home says change blindness is also fascinating. Yeah, Monster says delayed gratification is worse gratification. And also Nirla says like go full Ariana Grande and lick it, but don't eat it. I don't know if they told the kids whether or not that counted. I honestly can't remember. The Milgram, hold on, or not the Milgram experiment. We'll get to that. Although Matt says don't. It's really dark. It is, but it's important. It's important history. Because it tells you why it's so fucked up to say something like, I was just following orders, you know? As if we need more examples of that, but you know what I mean. Cashgirl said, so kids who could wait now have anxiety as adults. Yeah, marshmallow test, delayed gratification. Also known as the Stanford Marshmallow Experiment? Oh, right, because Stanford is an actual place. I thought it was just like a fucked up, like they just named it after the prison experiment and not for the fact that it was conducted at Stanford University. I forgot Stanford University was an actual place. So it started in 1970. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't reliably predict adult functioning anymore. They changed it. Okay, back when I was a kid and I learned about it, it doesn't actually explain willpower, and it's more explained by the fact that people have certain economic backgrounds. So in follow-up studies, the researchers found that children who were able to wait longer for the preferred rewards tended to have better life outcomes as measured by SAT scores, educational attainment, body mass index, and other life measures. But when people actually had like a diverse population, over 10 times larger than the original study, when they retested it, they showed only half the effect of the original study. And so it was economic background that was the real result. Overall results. The frustration of waiting for a desired reward is demonstrated nicely by the authors when describing the behavior of the children. They made up quiet songs, hid their head in their arms, pounded the floor with their feet, fiddled playfully and teasingly with the signal bell, verbalized the contingency, prayed to the ceiling, and so on. In one dramatically effective self-distraction technique, after obviously experiencing much agitation, a little girl rested her head, sat limply, relaxed herself, and proceeded to fall sound asleep. Genius. Right there. As Cashgirl said, Stanford is where the prison experiment was done too, in a basement. Okay, here's the follow-up studies. Where's... yeah, it looks like people are just challenging these. From an extended... Here we go. Delay of gratification in adult outcomes. The marshmallow test does not reliably predict adult functioning. No clear pattern of moderation was detected between delay of gratification and either socioeconomic status or sex. So girls don't do better than guys, for example. Or AFAB children versus AMAB children. Someone asked about the Stanford prison experiment. I will do my best. Let's see, Stanford prison. Yeah, I figured it'd show up fast. Okay, this is also known as the Zimbardo prison experiment. That's how I learned it. That says you need to look at the replication crisis whenever talking about psychological experiments. The replication crisis. Also, Grey Hack, welcome for your 20th stream in a row. The replication crisis refers to concerns about the credibility of findings in psychological science. The term originated in the early 2010s, which denotes that findings in behavioral science often can't be replicated. You can't get results comparable to the original when repeating the study using similar procedures. Why? They've warned that certain ways of collecting, analyzing, and reporting data, often referred to as questionable research practices, make it more likely that results will appear to be statistically meaningful, even though they're not. Flawed study designs and publication bias that favors confirmatory results are other long-time sources of concern. To be fair, publication bias goes so many different fucking ways. Holy shit. But yeah, okay. Journals are incentivized to publish interesting and surprising findings, which leads to publication bias, the tendency to publish positive findings rather than studies that have no effect. Interesting. Scientists increasingly began to discuss methodological concerns and to repeat experiments to corroborate published studies. The failure to consistently replicate those findings propelled the movement forward. So essentially, old research is bad, or more likely to be bad because it's less reliable, right? Is kind of what I'm getting here. And so, yeah, some people are saying that the replication crisis is calling for an overhaul of psychological science, and other people saying that it's overblown. Matt says not just old, it keeps being a problem? Oh. A variety of findings have come to question regarding replication attempts, including well-known ones suggesting that certain types of priming, physical poses, and other simple interventions could affect behavior in surprising or beneficial ways. So we're gonna have to keep coming up with new controls that like we didn't even have to think about before. Like the concept of the marshmallow test not having taken into account socioeconomic status because they wouldn't have thought to because they didn't think that was a fucking thing back in the day. And nowadays we're like, yeah, obviously you should be taking that into account. Throw out the old shit, start over. And there's gonna be the same repeat of that 10 years from now where we're like, something that we're not thinking of now becomes a thing. Interesting. Matt says a lot of social policy, child rearing advice. Oh God, I bet. And the like based on psych experiments is just self-selective confirmation bias and good sounding stuff rather than real science. Ugh. Speaking of not real science, Crumpleton says for a more ethical prison experiment, look up the premise of Unlocked on Netflix. Ooh, shit, yeah, we might find that here. Real fast for the prison experiment person who asked. Essentially, a long time ago, people simulated the effects of a prison by taking a bunch of college kids and basically saying like, hey, we're gonna organize you into two groups. Some of you are gonna be prisoners, some of you are gonna be guards. The volunteers selected to be guards were given uniforms designed specifically to de-individuate them, so uniforms that made them all look the same. And they were instructed to prevent prisoners from escaping. The experiment started officially when prisoners were arrested by real police of the area. During the next 5 days, psychological abuse of the prisoners by the guards became increasingly brutal. After a psychologist visited to evaluate the conditions, she was troubled to see how study participants were behaving, and she confronted Zimbardo. He ended the experiment on the 6th day. It's critiqued as an example of an unethical psychological experiment, and the harm inflicted on the participants during the post-World War II era prompted American universities to improve their ethical requirements and institutional review for human subjects. Let's see. So what actually happened? Okay, so they screened 75 people who applied and 24 were selected. The day before the experiment began, small mock prison cells were arranged to hold 3 prisoners each. There's a small corridor, a yard, a small corridor that represented the yard, a closet for solitary confinement. They had solitary fucking confinement in this thing? I don't remember that. Oh. Okay, so the prisoners were told to stay in their cells and the yard all day and night until the study was finished. Meanwhile, the guards were to stay in a different environment separate from the prisoners. The guards were given access to special areas for rest and relaxation and were told to work in teams of 3 for 4 8-hour shifts and were not required to stay on site after their shift. Ooh. Okay. The guards were instructed not to harm the prisoners physically or withhold food or drink, but to maintain law and order. They were given wooden batons to establish their status, de-individuating clothing similar to that of an actual prison guard, and mirrored sunglasses to prevent eye contact and create anonymity. Oh god, they were also instructed to refer to prisoners by number rather than by name to diminish the prisoner's individuality. With no control, the prisoners learned that they had little effect on what happened to them, ultimately causing them to stop responding and give up. Ooh. Events. Okay. Wow, they have full-on events where they, like, have pictures of them getting arrested, the lineups. Guards sprayed fire extinguishers at the prisoners to reassert control after they refused to leave their cells to eat in the yard. 3 backup guards were called in, and the guards said to the others that these are dangerous prisoners and tried to use psychological warfare to dissuade further rebellion. The guards removed all the prisoners' clothes, removed mattresses, and sentenced the main instigators to time in special detention. The guards separated and rewarded prisoners who had minor roles in the rebellion. The 3 spent time in the good cell, where they received clothing, beds, and food denied to the rest of the population, and after 12 hours, they returned to their old cells that lacked beds. The guards were allowed to abuse their power to humiliate the inmates. They had them count off and do push-ups arbitrarily, restricted access to bathrooms, and forced them to relieve themselves in a bucket in their cells. Goodness. There's a lot of, like, yeah, movies about these. People began breaking down. Oh gosh. Wild. H2 says, a person is smart, people are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. Agent K from Men in Black. Yeah, so de-individuation is an entire other thing. The de-individuation is the concept where essentially if you are in a crowd and it's like 2 things. It's like partially when you're wearing a mask or a costume of some variety, then you are less of an individual, more of a mob, more of a crowd. Or when you're just in a large group of people in general, and responsibility for any one given thing that might happen could fall on you, but it could just as easily fall to anyone else. So the concept of de-individuation is the reason that we get like riots in the street after certain football games and things like that, for example. So it gets crazy. Arrowhead says, we love a good old-fashioned, unethical, questionably legal experiment. We had that on lock in Massachusetts with our lovely state hospitals back in the day. And also Nirla says, people are basically shit as a group. Individuals can be good, but humanity as a collective sucks. Yeah, so here we go. Loss of self-awareness in groups is what de-individuation is. Overviews. Yeah, awesome. So it seeks to provide an explanation, it's just a theory, for a variety of anti-normative collective behavior, such as violent crowds, lynch mobs, etc. It's also been applied to genocide, has been posited as an explanation for anti-normative behavior online and in computer-mediated communications. Interesting. Applications. It's the perceived loss of individuality and personal responsibility that can occur when someone participates as part of a group. It can cause a person to be more likely to donate a large amount of money to charity, but it can also cause them to seem more likely to engage in mob violence. And it talks about in-groups and out-groups. And it links back to Zimbardo, of course. The guy behind the prison experiment. Anyway, Hearth Holmes, hello, saying it's also mixed with the concept of objectification. It gets wild. Sarax says there was a study at Yale, I think, where they introduced monkeys to currency that I remember being interesting. The monkeys started developing off of it and started mirroring humans and stuff. Oh, that's cool. That is wild. Also, Johnny says there's a video of this as well, and it's honestly so fucked seeing how the guards quickly dehumanize the prisoners, and it's been a prime example of why prison and police reform is so important. I heard a rumor, and this is just something I saw in a comment section somewhere, where after they decided to dissolve the experiment ahead of time, one of the researchers was like, well, what do we do with the prisoners? Fully forgetting that they were just college kid volunteers and not actual prisoners. But, I don't know. Malevolent Mess says, like the collective known as chat. Yeah. It ain't great. There's also, dude, there's also the Mouse Utopia experiment. This is something that I don't know if it holds up. Yeah, the behavioral sync, done by an ethologist. This one gets dark as well. Jed Dottie, hi! Welcome back for your 3rd month of being a subscriber. Good to see you. JEDDAWDY. Lovely to have you. Thanks for being here. Sorry, my cables are absolutely fucking everywhere. But have you guys heard about this one? This might be more of a biology thing. Matt says the Rat Utopia is directly related to the Rat Park experiment I mentioned above. Oh, I think I missed the Rat Park one. Oh yeah, for instance, the Rat Park experiment that informed a lot of drug policy turned out to just be completely garbage because they proved rats would just drug themselves to death if given all the drugs they want, but they gave the rats no other stimuli. If you gave the rats other things to do, none of them drug themselves to death. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it would hold up very well. But also Civics, hey, saying I just woke up for my birthday party last night. Hey, happy late birthday. Oh, amazing. Well, I'm glad you made it. Glad you survived. Also, El DeVito 18, welcome in. Good to see you, good to see you. Behavioral sink is a term invented by ethologist John Calhoun to describe, this guy did a lot of shit from what I understand, to describe a collapse in behavior that can result from overpopulation. Let's see. In the experiments, Calhoun and his researchers created a series of rat utopias in enclosed spaces. Let's see. Where rats were given unlimited access to food and water, enabling unfettered population growth. He coined the term behavioral sink. And then in Scientific American in 1962, he published an article titled Population Density and Social Pathology on the Rat Experiment. Then he later did it on mice as well. He became an animal model of societal collapse and has become a touchstone of urban sociology and psychology in general. So he was working at the Institute of Mental Health. So he placed 32 to 56 rats in a 10 by 14 foot cage in a barn. Every room was specifically created to support a dozen matured brown Norwegian rats. They could maneuver between rooms using the ramps, and they had unlimited water, food, and also protection from predators, as well as from disease and weather. So they were in mouse paradise or rat utopia. Let's see. Many female rats were unable to carry the pregnancy to full term or survive the delivery of their litters if they did. An even greater number, after successfully giving birth, fell short in their maternal functions. Among the males, the behavior disturbances ranged from sexual deviation to cannibalism, and from frenetic overactivity to a pathological withdrawal from which individuals would emerge to eat, drink, and move about only when other members of the community were asleep. The societal organization of the animals showed equal disruption. The common source of these disturbances became most dramatically apparent in the populations of our first series of 3 experiments, in which we observed the development of what we called behavioral sink. Animals would crowd together in the greatest number in one of the 4 interconnecting pens in which the colony was maintained. As many as 60 of the 80 rats in each population would assemble in one pen during periods of feeding, and individual rats would rarely eat except when they were around other rats. So, extreme population density is developed in the pen adopted for eating, leaving the others with sparse populations. Infant mortality ran as high as 96% among certain groups. Okay. Calhoun's work was not simply about density in a physical sense, as a number of individuals per square unit area, but also about degrees of social interaction. So social density is also key. Calhoun has phrased much of his work in anthropomorphic terms in a way that made his ideas highly accessible to a lay audience. Yeah, but that's not always a good thing. You don't want a lay audience interpreting this shit. Ugh. Implications of the experiment are controversial. Psychologist Friedman recruited high school and university students to carry out a series of experiments that measured the effects of density on human behavior. He measured their stress, discomfort, aggression, competitiveness, and unpleasantness, and found no appreciable negative effects when he did it with humans. In 1962, overpopulation was a big area of public interest. However, such discussions often oversimplified the original findings of Calhoun's shit in various ways. Oh. Calhoun's worries primarily concerned a human population surge and a potentially independent increase in urbanization as an early stage of rendering much of a given society functionally sterile. Under such circumstances, he said, society would move from some modality of overpopulation towards a much more irredeemable underpopulation. So basically he's saying that we'll overshoot it. We'll have like insane, if we give everyone everything they want, they'll stop having kids. And then the population will crash, essentially. Matt says there's a great classic sci-fi novel based partially on the behavioral sink hypothesis called Stand on Zanzibar. It also predicted personalized news feeds, designer babies, and an AI like ChatGPT. Oh, that'd be uncomfortable to read nowadays. When did it come out? How old is it? Also, let's see, Jayhawk says definitely check out the third wave experiment as well. It's politically topical. I don't know if I want to get into politics when we have 7 minutes left. Also, Lucas says if you told me these were all just SCPs, I believe you. I love that shit. Johnny, thank you so much for your, Johnny Infamous specifically, for the hydrate. Because right on the heels of that, we have Johnny Live 1 who has followed. Same with Cobra Commanderer. I got it. Thank you so much for being here. Matt says Stand on Zanzibar came out in 1968. Oh. Okay, let's see. Mouse Heaven or Mouse Hell, the Science History Institute. Let's see. Rodents have social hierarchies, and they establish dominance by fighting, but in Mouse Utopia, losing mice couldn't escape. They called them dropouts, and because so few juveniles died, huge hordes of dropouts would gather in the center of the pen. They were full of cuts and ugly scars, and every so often huge brawls would break out. However, alpha males struggled too. They kept their harems in private apartments, which they had to defend from challengers. But given how many mice survived to adulthood, there was always a dozen hotshots ready to fight, so they stopped defending their, little apartments altogether. So, apartments with nursing females were regularly invaded by rogue males. The mothers fought back, but often to the detriment of their young, and so stressed out mothers booted their pups from the nest early, before the pups were ready. A few even attacked their own amid the violence or abandoned them while fleeing, leaving the pups to die of neglect. Ooh, interesting. Maladjusted males took to grooming all day, preening and licking themselves hour after hour. But even though they were obsessing over their appearance, the males had zero interest in courting females and zero interest in sex. Oh. So that lowered birth rate, and the inability to raise pups properly also fucked with it, and basically made it so that very few pups survived more than a couple days. So what's the new thing, though? Has anyone actually redone it? Ultimately, Calhoun's work functions like a Rorschach block. People see what they want to see. Yeah, that's why you can't use anthropomorphization in your animal experiments, dude. It ain't good. But Cobra Commander, hello, saying nailed it. Welcome in. This seems like a solid time to end, mostly because I think I'm out of experiments to talk about. Let's see. The minimal group paradigm. Groupthink is a big one, but that's pretty fucking... That's not a new concept. I think that's it. We could also talk about the Little Albert experiment. Hold on. Which is a wild name for it, by the way. Johnny Vima says there's a spider drug experiment where they gave spiders different drugs to see how it affected their spider web designs. Wasn't that a bit? I thought that video was fake. That was was it based off a real study? The Little Albert experiment is the other really famous one. They also just straight up say, hey, it was really fucking unethical in the first sentence, which is wild. Let's see. Matt says there's a Robbers Cave experiment. I've never heard of that. I'll go through this one fast. But the aim of this study was to condition a phobia in an emotionally stable child. They chose a 9-month-old infant from a hospital, referred to as Albert for the experiment, and Pavloved him, essentially, into being afraid of animals. He was given... exposed to a white rat, a rabbit, a dog, a monkey, masks with and without hair, cotton wool, burning newspapers, and other stimuli, and he wasn't afraid of them at the beginning of the test. Then later, he was placed near a white laboratory rat and was allowed to play with it, but they made a loud sound behind Albert's back by striking a suspended steel bar with a hammer each time the baby touched the rat. Albert responded by crying and showing fear, and after several times of doing this, he was presented with only the rat. And then, when he saw the rat, he became very distressed, crying and crawling away, and basically became afraid of the rat because he associated the rat with noise. Then anything that had fur on it, including a Santa Claus mask with white cotton balls in the beard, triggered that fear. But it didn't work with everything that was hairy. It only worked for, like, furry things, if that makes sense. Although Watson had discussed what might be done to remove Albert's conditioned fears, he chose not to attempt such desensitization with Albert, and it is thought likely that the infant's fear of furry things continued post-experimentally. Ugh, goodness. Anyway. Oh, Matt Stormcrow says that the Robbers Cave experiment showed how intergroup conflict increased and decreased between groups of children. Oh, that's just like Lord of the Flies, right? I feel like I've heard of this. Robbers Cave experiment. From Simply Psychology. One of the most cited studies in social psychology. Let's see. The hypotheses tested were, when people who don't know each other are brought together to achieve common goals with a group activity, they produce a group structure and create their own hierarchy. Once formed, two in-groups brought into a functional relationship under conditions of competition and group frustration, attitudes, and appropriate hostile actions about the outgroup and its members will arise. These will be standardized and shared in varying degrees by group members. So basically you can form groups that will then create their own hierarchies, and if you have those groups interact, they'll hate each other. So 22 boys were all Protestant, had 2 parents, white middle-class backgrounds, and they were divided randomly into 2 groups, and neither was aware of the other's existence. Then they were transported to Robbers Cave State Park in Oklahoma. The members of each group got to know each other for the first 5 to 6 days, and they bond through common goals, cooperative discussion, planning, and execution. They developed an attachment to their groups, chose names for their groups, the Eagles and the Rattlers, and stenciled them onto shirts and flags. Then, for 4 to 5 days after that, the two games came into contact with each other, where, oh my gosh, they did baseball, tug of war, and other competitive activities. They also gave prizes to the winning group, like a medal and a multi-bladed pocket knife, with no consolation prizes being given to everyone else. Oh, goodness. They got pretty hostile. Prejudice was only verbally expressed at first through taunting or name-calling. Situations were also devised where one group gained at the expense of another. For example, one group was delayed getting to a picnic, and when they arrived, the other group had eaten their food. Oh, that's fucked. The Rattlers ransacked the Eagles' cabin, overturned beds, stole private property, and they became so aggressive that the researchers had to physically separate them. Ugh. Fucking wild. Eventually, they did conflict resolution, I suppose. And it just talks about realistic conflict theory, which posits intergroup hostility and conflict arise when groups compete for limited resources. Scary shit. Oh my god. Also, Jane Elliott says, Crippleton says, Jane Elliott's Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes experiment. Even if you don't go over it on stream, check it out offline. It's fascinating. Yeah, I'll have to do it offline because we are out of time. But Jayhawk says that we mentioned the monkey ladder experiment yet. That one's interesting too. Oh, why does that sound familiar? That sounds really fucking familiar. Oh, shit. Okay, I'll look it up after stream. Johnny Infamous for the last comment says, there's this documentary on Hulu called The Contestant that was this Japanese game show where they recorded a guy's life 24/7 for almost 3 years while keeping him completely isolated. He knew he was being recorded, but didn't know it was live, and his everyday life was being live streamed for the whole world to see. Weirdly enough, he was technically the first video game streamer, and he's the reason why the eggplant emoji is a euphemism for ding-dongs. What? Really? The Contestant. Why? I feel like I've heard of this. I know I said I wouldn't look into anything else. The Contestant was in 2023? A British documentary film, as he started... Oh, happened in 1998. Wow, and the guy actually played himself. And his nickname was Eggplant. He was challenged to stay alone unclothed in an apartment, a Japanese reality television show on Nippon Television. He started with nothing, including no clothes, was cut off from outside communication and broadcasting, and had nothing to keep him company, except the magazines he combed through for sweepstakes entry forms, because he was challenged to enter a sweepstakes until he won 1 million yen, or about $8,000. Oh god. Wild. So this is real? No. It can't be. Japanese comedian and media personality, best known for appearing on the controversial reality television show, I can't pronounce that. At first, he was surviving on a few crackers each day given to him by production staff so he would not starve to death. Eventually, he won some sugary drinks from sweepstakes entries, and the crackers were no longer given to him. Later, he won a bag of rice, but since he didn't have any pots or containers, he was forced to eat it raw. Oh my god, this is wildly unethical. After his ordeal, he reported being hot and sweaty wearing clothing for the first 6 months and had difficulty carrying on conversations for a long time. In April 2020, he cited his own personal experience and used it to try and get people to isolate for COVID-19. Fucking wild, but also good on him for using that experiment to, at the very least, be like, hey, you guys can fucking chill the fuck out and go stay inside for the sake of COVID. Either way, I'm gonna call it there. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Again, we don't have a stream tomorrow, but we will on Wednesday and possibly over the weekend. So if you're still watching on TikTok, I'm gonna say goodbye to you now. And then for those who are over on YouTube and Twitch, for YouTubers, I will see you guys Thursday for an exclusive stream and back here tomorrow for, Wednesday, for another stream as well. And then you guys, of course, over on Twitch are gonna get sent over to a friend of mine. Budman says goodnight, Diana. It was lovely seeing you guys. It's amazing seeing you guys always. And let's see who's on. Ooh, we have a lot of people on. Oh god, what day is it? Is it Monday? It's Monday, right? Am I insane? Why are there so many people on? Oh, okay. Well, we could go talk to Gnome Ann, who is going to be playing 1,000-Year-Old Vampire with chat. Or we could go say hi to Concho, who is pushing for partner right now. One of the two. Thoughts? 1,000-Year-Old Vampire or just chatting? No, man? Hell yeah. All right, we'll go. Oh god, it's split. Oh no, Nasser says it's Monday all day except it's Tuesday for me. Okay, I'm gonna send you guys to No Man because she just started. And when it comes to 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, I know you guys have been asking me for it, and also like it's really fucking cool. So we'll go say hi to her. In the meantime, like I said, no stream tomorrow. Oh, I don't know why I hit that button. No stream tomorrow, but again, I'll see you guys on Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific time. So until then, bye-bye.